Hello, I'm Cody Miller, Precision Farming Specialist with Swiderski Equipment. Today we're out here at our crop tour location at Shire Farms here in Burnhamwood. Today is July 26th. Quite a bit of growth here that we've had since the last video that we've had. Today I have Mike Gronsky with our Pioneer Field Agronomist.
Thanks a lot, Cody. So, the question always comes up this time of year, where am I at in terms of staging my crop? There's a lot of talk of fungicide applications, whether we're looking to hold off disease or from a silage standpoint if we have vomotoxin concerns in terms of forage quality. Really the best thing to do is we want to get the most ideal timing for the best response for our fungicides, and to do that, it's going to take some time out in the field. So the best thing a person can do is go for a walk within that field, and you're going to want to remove the whorl itself from the plant. Once you've done so, like this particular leaf here is very loose on there, you're going to want to start unwrapping the leaves that are wrapped around that tassel. And as you're doing that, just count up the number of leaves that you find as you unravel it. And as you unwrap it here, like in this instance here, we've got 2 leaves that were wrapped around that tassel. GDUs pending, each of these leaves will represent 2 to 3 days until we're going to see that tassel. So in a GDU standpoint, you're right around that 50 GDUs per leaf. So we need about 100 GDUs to get this corn fully tasseled at this point.
So Mike, I've been seeing a lot of guys out and about looking at fields. What are some of the things that we should be looking for this time of year when we're out crop scouting?
Well, that's a great question, Cody, and I think really the biggest thing that's on everyone's mind right now is tar spot. I really can't go anywhere and not have a conversation that doesn't revolve back to that. So if we backtrack to 2021 and we look at the disease pressure that we felt in north central Wisconsin, as we got in the northern portion of the central sands, we had some separation in yield by genetic that was very evident. And as we looked at that, we were seeing 10, 20 bushel separation. We were seeing a lot more stalk rot at harvest. And what it amounted to is those plants were infected early enough that it did take yield potential off that crop. As we worked our way further north, and as we got closer to, like here we're north of Highway 29 or even working up towards Highway 64, we were finding tar spot in those fields. But the reality is that it came in late enough. And you look at how last year was, we tracked 200 plus GDUs ahead for most of the area. It wasn't yield influencing. The challenge is though, is that now that essentially that tar spot that overwintered in that residue, so the potential's higher going into this year. And the other comment I'd make too with tar spot is that even if you're in a rotated acre that's a non-corn, say corn on soybean, corn on sod, you are equally susceptible because you can still have a scenario where those spores are moved in with wind or rain. So really at this point, the one thing is to start actively scouting. Once a plant gets infected, it's not going to show itself till about 14 days later, and you'll see a black raised bump on the leaves, typically expected to start in the lower portion of the canopy, similar to gray leaf spot. And when you see those black speckles, take and scratch with your fingernail, and if they don't remove, very likely you have tar spot. And if you have questions, you can send them into the state lab or reach out to your local Pioneer sales rep, and they'd be able to assist you with that as well. As far as staying proactive with it, it goes back to where we started in this video talking about fungicide timing. And the best return on investment from all the trials that have been shown is getting fungicide on at tassel to that R1 or silking time frame. So like I said, we had 2 leaves here, so we're basically 4 to 6 days out from seeing tassels in a majority of this field based on that plant. I'd recommend doing more than one plant when you're trying to evaluate where that field's at. And then usually from that tassel to silking, you should see silks on the majority of plants from within a 2 to 3 day window from once the tassels poke out. So at the end of the day, that's going to be our ideal window to want to get that fungicide on. And when you're doing that, there's a lot of different products that are going to be acceptable in terms of control, but look to multiple modes of action. Look for a curative and also a preventative. To be very proactive in terms of control and still continue to scout. If you know you have some genetics that are susceptible, that protection should be there 14, maybe 21 days. But you look at from tassel all the way to dent, we have a 55 to 60 day window depending upon the GDUs. So we have a long ways to go in terms of maximizing yield potential.
Awesome. So today Mike and I went out, we just started looking at some aerial imagery with Mike's drone just to see how things were looking. Overall I am extremely happy with the way the plot's looking. We've got a lot of even plants. Everything is looking great. So
no, absolutely. I think the biggest takeaway, as everyone that knows that Burnhamwood area, you have a lot of rolling hills. You've got lower organic matter hilltops. So even though rain hasn't necessarily been abundant, I feel that it's been very consistent, and you can see that in what we're finding with the drone. So as we continue to progress through the season, I still feel like we're on track to have some really good quality data as we start heading into our crop tour date coming up, and then also, you know, obviously the harvest and overall analyzation of the data.
Yeah, so like Mike said, we have our infield crop tour date that is going to be August 24th of this year. So make sure you stay tuned for some invites for that. They'll be coming out.
Thanks, guys.